What's up, people? Welcome to this episode of the By the Hood podcast or webcast because I don't know how you're consuming this content. I'm your host as always. My name is Jimmy, and as we start off every show, that's with gratitude. We just want to say thank you to anyone and everyone who supports anything that we got going on, but a special shout out to all of our students from By the Hood University, as well as the youth from the By the Hood ownership camp. This camp is, wrapped up, and it was an amazing experience. So just want to say thank you to all the parents as well as the students for participating in this year's camp. I'm joined by my partner in crime as always, Core. Core, what's up with you, good brother?
What's really good? Every day above ground is a good day, so let's go get it.
Absolutely. And as you know, our platform is designed to highlight brothers and sisters who are doing positive work in the community. And we want to make sure that we, let them share their stories, talk about their businesses. And the sister that we have on right now is building amazing businesses, but also helping others along her journey as well. So we want to introduce Camille to you guys. Camille, how are you?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm great. Just moving with good intentions and thankfulness.
Absolutely. And listen, the work that you're doing, and we got a chance to see you up in person at Better Than Success is amazing. Your brand Legacy Builders is very powerful. I follow everything that you got going on online. So I definitely want to have you on to tell your story because I know a lot of people could resonate or understand your story. So let's start from the very, very beginning. Where are you from? Where are you born and raised?
So I'm from North Philly, literally in the center of North Philly, 19132, right off the 16th in Huntington.
I was about to say, you got to tell us exactly. You say North Philly, like people be like, what do you mean North Philly? All right.
Yeah.
16th.
You was from that North Philly.
Yeah, I'm from North Philly, with an F.
Got you. Okay. So what kind of student were you coming up? Like, what was your upbringing like?
So my upbringing, I was raised by my single father, and his mother played like a big role in it too. But I went to Catholic school my whole life, from pre-K all the way to 8th grade, straight A student, top of my class, always an overachiever.
What school did you go to? What Catholic school was it?
St. Martin de Porres on 22nd and Lehigh.
Okay.
And then from there, I went to Mass Bomb for like 1 year. It was like, first time in public school, wasn't quite, the vibe for me as a person. So I dug in deep and found somewhere. I ended up graduating from Rittenhouse Academy as valedictorian. And it was at the Spruce.
So you were, pretty smart and pretty ambitious as a young person. Was that something that was instilled in you from home, or are you always just like, a self-starter?
I was always a self-starter, but definitely, built in me from home. Like I said, I was raised by a single father. He ran a contractor business. And I just always saw him just out here, just, making it work. As I said, I'm from North Philly with an F, like the real hood. And it was always about just doing better. Always challenging myself to be the best me as possible at all times.
Okay. So when you graduate as valedictorian, what's the next step in your journey? What do you do right after that?
So I was 16.
Whoa, hold on. You graduated high school at 16? Oh, you really was out here getting to the books. Yeah, you was beating them books in the head. Okay, so it was 16. So what happened then?
So 16, and it was like, okay, what's next for me? I've always had to work. My dad's philosophy was, if you want something, you got to work for it. Back, and we were around the same age. It was, everybody wore trees, everybody wore Timbs. I said, Dad, I want a pair of boots. He said, okay, how much? I said, $120. He said, I got 60. You got to come to work tomorrow to make the other 60. I was like, oh man, to getting dirty. That wasn't quite my field where I wanted to be, even though I was on a construction site my whole life because he didn't really have a babysitter. But I started doing hair. I braided everybody here in the neighborhood, like all the hood guys. I braided back, PD crack here back in the day, just everybody. So once I graduated high school, I went to Mass Bomb for a little bit. That didn't work out. I went to Berean Institute on 19th and Girard. Mm-hmm. And I went to community at the same time. I finished Berean, got all my hours to take my state exam for a cosmetologist, passed that. Community, it was like, okay, what do I want to do going forward? I didn't see myself progressing when I start seeing, the loans and the payments adding up. I'm like, this is not where I want to spend my money at.
Yeah.
My time is very, very valuable. I understand my knowledge. This is 17-year-old Camille speaking at this point. I was like, what can I do? So I started going to New York, doing hair. I worked in a hair salon in Center City called Afrogenics, and they had a shop in New York. And I traveled back and forth to do that until I got pregnant. I got pregnant at 17. And it was, a really, really rough pregnancy, which was hard at that point. It being, a young female, I wasn't single. I was with, my daughter's father, who I ended up marrying. And it was just like, all right, what's next? And I did a million things. I have a CDL driver. Once I decided to stay home for 2 years with her, started working for the school district. It was like, okay, I need benefits, but I still need to own my time. That was always my ultimate goal from 16, probably even before that. What do I need to do so I can own my time? That was part of why I left Mass.Mom and went to Rittenhouse Academy and figured out ways to pay that tuition, because I knew I needed to cut this down. I needed to make it shorter. I only got 4 years to get these people. I need to own my time. So that has always been my mindset. What moves do I need to make? What sacrifices do I need to make to be able to own my time?
So let me ask you this question though. In terms of the skill set with the hair, was that something that you always were blessed with, or you just picked it up at that time? Or like when you were a little kid, where did you because it sounds like you got pretty good at it. So
yeah, I did. I got really, really good at it. I worked on different movie sets, modeling sets. We worked with next top models, all type of people. But as a little girl, I was always into Barbies. I was always into, being cute and stylish. Even in my construction clothes, I think I'm trying to be a little cute and stylish out here when y'all see me on Instagram and my bonnet site. So yeah, from I did everybody here. I started, so my grandma allowed me to turn her little bedroom into my hair salon. And this was at 14. So at 14, I had a full business, a full hair business going on.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So now, and throughout this journey, so one thing I just learned is that, your father was into construction. So that kind of was instilled in you very early.
Very, very early. Yeah, I've been on the too.
So it's interesting to see the transition into the builder and investor that you've become. But tell us about that journey. So now you're working different jobs and you're trying to figure things out. You're going through your journey. You have your baby.
Yeah, I have my baby. I'm going through my journey. I'm driving the school bus. I'm doing hair on the side. My husband, and to be very transparent, at that point, my husband was still, pretty much in the streets. But once we had our daughter, that's when he made that pivot.
Okay.
To say, okay, this is not, the life I want to live. This was the life I had to do to survive. We were now looking to start living.
So I was going to ask you that question. I was going to ask you, how did having that kid that young, how did it change, you? I guess both of you guys, but you already told me that it kind of got him out of the street. What did it do to you as a mother?
For me, as a mother, I had her at 18. As an 18-year-old unmarried mother, it made me go harder. It made me go hard. People who used to think, as a kid, I grinded. I no longer was that child. I now had rent, car insurance, got to make sure she's good. And at the same time, my overall goal was still ownership of my time. I never wanted anybody to tell me what to do. I always had an issue where I got to ask you to take a day off to go to the beach. That, that doesn't never set right with my spirit. So even as that 18-year-old young mom was like, all right, what do you got to do? You got to go harder. You got to hit it hard. Sacrifice. I didn't do any of the wild parties with my friends. I didn't do any of those type of things that my other cohorts and, my age group were doing. I was working. I was grinding. I was sitting there thinking, even when it looked like I wasn't working, I was reading, I was studying, I was networking before networking was networking.
Yeah.
Before that was a thing, my first apartment I was always in awe of meeting people who own properties. How did y'all do it? It was just always, how, what do I need to do? What do I need to make me look like on paper?
Yeah.
To be able to get this. So those was always my questions as an 18-year-old. And especially once I had my daughter, was because at the end of the day, looking at her, I can't let her see me fail. I can't fall into the stereotypes of a young mom who had, a child out of wedlock, teenager. I couldn't fall into any of those. I already knew, college wasn't going to be my lone forte, but I knew I still had to be successful to me. And it was a matter of determining what that looked like. And having her made me really, really sit down and come up with a strategy.
Yeah. And one thing about being in cosmetology, that's the greatest place to network, right?
Absolutely.
I always tell my barber, I say, yo, you're the most connected person I know. Somebody from every walk of life.
Every walk of life.
I'm like, dude, you got killers in the chair, and you got cops, and then you got attorneys, and then you got like builders. Yeah, you're the most connected person at every level of life. But so man, that's an interesting journey that you went through. But let me ask you this question, because you're asking people specifically about properties and how they got to own properties. What was it that made you interested in real estate in the first place? Was it the upbringing with your father in construction, or was it something else that made you ask those specific questions?
So the spark for me was something happened like in one of my neighbors' houses, and they wanted my dad to fix it, but they kept saying the landlord, and I couldn't understand. I said, the landlord, y'all lived here. Didn't your kids grow up with my dad? You've been living in this house for 30 years. What do you mean a landlord? So, and that's when my dad was like, shut up, Camille, shut up. But later on, we had the conversation because my family always owned their homes. So that's, all I knew. The conversation, you had the conversation with me that some people are long-term renters, that they're willing to stay in a home and pay rent for 30 and 40 years and pass it down through their generations.
Yeah.
So that made me, and I was still in St. Martin, so I wasn't even out of 8th grade when I started talking to the landlords.
Okay.
When they were coming to pick up the rent. Like I said, I always sat back and looked. Even when I didn't look like I was working, I was working. And I would sit back and look, and I figured out, okay, you come to the beginning of every month, Miss Jewish lady, you know who I need to talk to. So I started asking those questions before high school.
Yeah.
What does this look like? What does your life look like?
Yeah, and then you start to see the difference in what their life looks like and everybody else. So basically, it was being inquisitive.
Exactly.
Okay. So tell us about your journey of going from figuring things out, having your daughter, trying to see where your life is going, to actually getting in the real estate game. What did it look like for you to make your first purchase or actually get into the game?
So for me, it probably looked a little different than a lot of people. So I said, I had my daughter. My husband transitioned out of the, from being in the streets to carpentry, but he didn't have any benefits. And it was important, that we had real life benefits. So it was like, okay, Camille, what can you do to get one, good benefits, but also be able to build, yourself up on paper? So I became a correctional officer. And I stayed in that field for almost 15 years. When I left, I was the director of training for their training academy. And in that time, that span there, I did, several different things, continued to network, but it allowed me to buy a property. The first property that I purchased was actually the house that my grandma grew up in. When let's, rewind a couple minutes back, when I said, I had my daughter and I got ready to move out, and I asked then, can I have this house? It was just sitting there abandoned, people would live there from time to time. I said, can I move in here? I said, I can move in here, not pay rent, but fix the house up. And then I could also save money. Then, we could rent it out. We could have income coming into the family, yada, yada, yada. Shut down. House ended up almost falling apart. Was on sheriff's sale for back taxes. Me and my husband paid the money to take it off of there. We had no money. Let's be clear. We had still no money to fix it up. We had no clue how to do it. But what we did know was that we could not let somebody else get their property, because one is something, that was passed down. It was able to be in my family for all these years, that my grandma at that point was maybe like 75, 80, was raised in, was born in. So we knew we had to stop that, but we didn't know a plan except, get it, secure it, pay the taxes. That was a plan. We did that. In the midst of that, we purchased another house. I did subject to get that house. I leveraged my personal credit to fix it up. And it was like me, my dad, my kids, everybody was in there fixing up this property.
How did you even learn about subject to? Like, how did you learn? How did you learn? That's a strategy that a lot of people still to this day don't know how to use. How did you learn that strategy?
I learned that strategy by YouTube University, reading, asking questions. I contacted the bank that held the mortgage, and I harassed this lady for a year. For a year, I'm like, y'all don't want it. And then it came to the point where, we developed a rapport and a relationship. And she really, really schooled me on it. And she was from Citizens Branch out, I think Chicago she was
okay.
in. Yeah. out Chicago. So I learned that strategy before I even while I was still going back and forth with her. We went down, got the house transferred into my name. I knew, what liability I was assuming, possibly, that whole mortgage or a lien for that whole amount being put on there. But because I developed a relationship with this banker and I was calling her literally every couple weeks, it, let me know, gave me some insight. She educated me on things that people in our community never find out about. She not only helped me through getting that property, but just giving me the knowledge, a lot of knowledge that I'm now able to share with other people who might be dealing with tangled titles and tangled deeds and just not knowing how to figure it out and how to get started.
Yeah. So, but I got to give you credit too, because you were persistent in bothering her, right? To get the information that you want. So we got to make sure that we acknowledge that.
Yes.
But taking a step back though, one of the great things about like hearing everyone's story is everyone has their own unique journey to lead them to where they are, right? So even with that transition into working as a correctionals officer, how has that shaped you today? Like, what did you learn from that experience that you bring with you today in your business? What did you take from that experience?
To be fair, firm, and consistent at all times. Whether if I'm negotiating with a contractor, if I'm negotiating my, the selling price for the property, I'm gonna be fair. Everybody's here to make money. Nobody's here to volunteer. Of course, I always want the best number, but I'm gonna be fair because that's the only way I'm going to get that best product. That's the only way that this wholesaler is going to continue to come back to me and give me good numbers. They're going to be willing to take that short where they could make, $10,000 or $15,000 off this deal from somebody else. I'm gonna be fair, so I'm gonna make sure you eat, but we both want to eat. And when you get that next deal, I'm gonna buy that too.
I like that. Be fair. Yeah. I'm taking notes of it. Be fair, firm, firm, and consistent. I like that.
I'm firm. I stand on my name. I stand on everything, that I do. I'm probably the sweetest person that you're going to meet, but I'm firm. This is, what it is. It's ironclad is what it is. And I'm consistent. I'm the same Camille, whether you met me on State Road as a correctional professional, if you met me in the middle of a ditch digging it because we got to get this new water line and it's not on the budget, so I got to put in some work. I'm gonna be the same Camille.
Man, I like that. Be fair, firm, and consistent. That's fire core. Yeah. So you learning how to do subject twos. You buying you stopping Granny's house. You doing all the right things. So tell us about your business now, the Legacy Builders. Tell us about some of the things that you do, what your business model looks like, and what are some of the things you're working on.
So Legacy Builders Management Consultant, we cover everything real estate from, like in the name, consultant. If you need, I like to work with investors who are green, investors who might, be taken advantage of in other places, because my goal is for everybody to win. If I feel like if I help somebody new that's coming into the game, and I don't charge $1 million, like literally I don't. I could charge so much more, but I don't, because I know for me at the end of the day, when I'm going, and how they say on the obituary, that dash, I want that dash, my legacy, to be something that's so beautiful and understood that the only way to do that is to help other people build their dash up, to build their legacy. So it's not about, making $1 million because the money will come. It just comes.
Yep.
Believe me. But if I can help somebody get into their first deal, get in and get out of their first deal and make a couple dollars, gain some knowledge, that's now a part of my legacy. So that's the main goal of my business and what my business strategy is surrounded around. And within that, we do project management, property management. We help you with everything that you need to do with the city. As far as getting your licenses, rental licenses, the new tax center, just whatever you need, getting your commercial activity license, having an understanding, pulling permits. We do walkthroughs. We pretty much do it all. We do lead testing, lead certs. It's a one-stop shop here again, because I want to make sure that the investors I work with receive everything they need and are not taken advantage of. I've seen so many people get taken advantage of. I was taken advantage of learning this real estate game. I know I'm not gonna say I lost any money because it's never a L, it's always a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
But I want it to be a little bit more affordable for people.
Understood.
Yeah, I want it to be a little bit more affordable.
Well, let me ask you this question, right? Considering you are in all aspects of real estate, what is your favorite part, right? Is it wholesaling? Is it flipping? Is it buy and hold? Is it the consulting? Like, what would you say is your favorite part of the real estate game, considering you do it all?
Yeah, I'm going to say consulting. I love being a part of helping somebody else's dream come true.
Mm-hmm.
That's like my favorite part. I love to talk. I'll talk to anyone. I love to share knowledge. But if I'm sharing it with somebody who's really taking it in and ready to execute, that's like my favorite part. That's what hypes me up. Yeah, I'm calling them like I'm calling the people. I was calling the lady at the bank when I did that subject to deal.
Yeah.
Like, did you do this yet? You ready? Because, you know, it hypes me up. It ignites me. And it gives me the courage to just keep going. When something's not going right, you know, quite for me, because nothing is perfect out here. And it's like, dang, when I helped Miss Such and Such through that, when we had our series of consultations and she was able to get everything done on her task list. If she could get through it, I know I can.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what helps me. That's what motivates me. But I also like the buy and hold aspect. I'm in a process right now of buying the block that I was raised on.
Oh, did you say the property or the block?
The block.
I want to make sure I slow that down so we can hear what you said. I want to make sure
it down.
I want to make sure everybody can hear what you said.
Not the property.
Yeah, not the property, the block.
That's amazing. Congratulations on that. And so how did that come to be? Like, how did that become a thing for you?
So for me, when I was little, my street it was community. I definitely better not have did nothing nowhere, because anybody from their street or their community saw me. It was calling my dad. They were calling my grandma. We kept our street together. We, painted the curves. We hung Christmas lights. We did all of these things. And the violence, the drug use, none of that was as prevalent as it is right now. So I have an understanding that if we can help rebuild community and give that understanding of that, then that's just my little way of curbing what's going on in Philadelphia. I started buying my street because where else do we start at but at home?
That's right.
I know if I can go and, rehab some dilapidated houses on the street that I was raised on and place good families in them, that's the first step to rebuilding community.
Yep, absolutely. You speaking like our language. We love to hear that. So in terms of your team and everything, how is it now that you have a team, you have to manage a team? What is that like? Having to deal with that kind of part of the business.
So dealing with that part is, it's difficult. It's a struggle because I go hard. A friend of mine, he was just something that he was like, your stamina is like no other. I'm up to 1, 2 in the morning. And I'm back up at 7, 8 in the morning, sending texts and emails.
And you be on the sites too, by the way. Look, y'all got to check her IG page. She be on site. Like it ain't, she ain't just from the bed calling page. She's on the site. Like she said, digging ditches, hard hat on. She's outside.
Yeah, I'm definitely there. And it's the one thing that's so that maybe this is something else that I also gained, from being in the supervisory positions at the prisons where I dealt with a million different personalities. You have to lead your team, not just give orders. You have to be a leader. And part of being a leader is them knowing that you're there with them. Like, I'm here, I got you. It's 100 degrees, I'm out here too. I expect you to do this because at the end of the day, when Friday comes, you want to get paid, you expecting me to do, my part. So it's just about, I hold everybody at a higher core. Everyone in my life is at a high standard. Everyone in my life must be doing something to attempt to level up.
Mm-hmm.
We can't get stagnant. We can't get comfortable. We have to keep going. And once we get to that point where we think, okay, we're there, we're at a good point, that's when you reach back down and you pull somebody else up with you. Mm-hmm. So it's always work to be done. It's always a team to be built. A lot of people say, well, how do you have so many businesses or why? because that's the only way that I continue to reach back down and pull somebody back up with me. Is to keep growing.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. So, you spoke earlier about like, having your baby at a young age. Like, how involved, like, or are you teaching them the business now, or how's that work? Or, do you just want them to focus on school, or are you showing them what you do? Or just
So
example.
I have 2 daughters. I lost my husband in 2020, beginning of the pandemic. So now I'm a single mom, something, I've never experienced before. And that again pushed me to go, to just a whole higher level. Like I really, really turned it all the way up at that point.
My condolences as well. Because yeah.
Thank you. Crazy. So my oldest daughter, she's going to college. I drop her off Thursday on my birthday.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a nice birthday gift, right?
It is. But for me, I allow my children, I educate them with everything. They see everything. My youngest daughter, she could run a birth strategy down to you probably better than I can, honestly. And she's only 10. She can't even have a conversation with somebody. It's like, okay, what you doing? Do you have your business? I'm getting ready to start this business. She's trying to start her skincare line. And she's with it. My oldest daughter, who, I wish was a little bit more into what I do. She's an actress and she loves what she does. And I support her 100%. But I always still have her do different things in the business, have a different understanding. You're going to listen to this podcast. You're going to read this book. This is my expectations for you. Because though, you're about to go to college now, and I'm stressing the point of make sure you're getting a return on your investment. Because that's all I look at is their ROI.
Yep.
Yep, that's all I look at. And this has been, my mindset from a child, but I have to understand she's her own individual. But one thing I do know is how I ran away from the construction site at 13, 14. Where am I back at right now?
Yeah, it got you back anyway.
There you go. You back at it anyway. This wasn't planned. It just happened. Life happened, and I ended up here. But I'm so thankful that I had the skill sets to be here. Because people see me, especially new contractors, and if I'm like dressed or whatever, they talk and I listen. I'm like, okay. And they think I'm just, just this little girl. Then when I start speaking back to them, they have a clear understanding of who I am and what I know that was installed in me early on in life. Even though I tried to run away from it, it came back full circle. So even though she's about to pursue, her dream of, being in the arts, she has that foundation to always come back to this. When it's time for me to transition and, for my children to take over, they are a part of my succession plan. And that's something else as, in my business that I help other small business owners set up is their succession plan. It could go either way. She has the knowledge and the foundation to run this business, or she could sell and, take her money from there and do what she has to do.
But what's powerful about this whole thing to me is like you've laid the foundation to allow her to be in the arts, right? And I think that's even more powerful. Right? You talked earlier about how can you own your time.
Yep.
And one of the things that Corey and I talk about often is that when you start to create businesses or buy assets, you give the next generation the ability to dream, to go into the art. You know what I mean? So that's your work right there. So you should be very proud of that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and that's what I tell her. Base your life based on your income. My daughter is 18 and she has passive income coming in.
Nice.
It passes right past me. It goes right to her. And she could be on stage, just living her life, living her dream.
Absolutely. So, I got to ask you a question. I know Corey got a couple questions, but I want to ask you a question specifically about the future of your business. So you told us about your journey. You told us about what you're working on now and some of the things you have. What does the future look like for you and your business? What do you see yourself doing in the future?
So the future, and I'm only out about 10 years at this point, but the future of my business looks like me working in my garden at home while my businesses, pretty much run themselves. My goal is always to get things to autopilot. So I'm going really, really hard. Right now, I consider myself in my grind phase. This shouldn't last no more than about 5 years. after about 5 years, the team that I'm building hopefully will be at the point where everything that I have already going on, they can now, run it and take over. And that's how that I'm looking for the transition in about 5 years from now, that 5 to 10 years from now point, to where it truly becomes passive for me.
Okay.
And I'm owning 100% of my time, where now as a small business owner, I might be working 15 hours a day. I'm looking to maybe be working 2-3 hours a day just because I want to.
Understood. And you're putting those plays together right now as we speak.
Right now.
So Core, I know you had some things you wanted to ask.
I definitely do. Camille, when you're out in the streets working with the people and trying to, build your team, what's the most important characteristic of somebody that would be on your team?
Honest. You have to be able to be honest with me.
Okay.
Like, you have to. This is really, really hard for me too, because like I said, I've been on a construction site in the job of my life, so I curse a lot. So excuse me if something slip out.
Oh, that's fine. Hey, listen.
No. This is your story, and we don't got no censors.
Yeah, so you have to be honest with me. My philosophy is shit happens. Just point blank, bottom line. But if you're not transparent with yourself and with me, we cannot figure it out. We can't work through it. If somebody comes to me at the last minute with something that they've been knew about, and we could have then, tried to find a creative solution to resolve their issue, now I have a problem. But before then, if you could be honest with me, if you're being transparent, number one, with yourself, because that's what it takes. Be transparent with yourself, and then come to me and be honest with me and trust me, knowing that whatever it is, I'm going to try my best to help you. I'm going to tap into my network, because I know somebody everywhere that does everything. And if I don't know them personally, somebody who knows me and trusts me as the woman I am, that I stand on my character, knows somebody that can offer you some type of assistance or guidance. So for me, yeah, honesty is the best thing. That's like number one. I could teach you how to frame. I can teach you how to do data entry. I could teach you anything, but I can't teach you character. I can't teach you ethics. I can't teach you those things. So that's the main quality that I'm looking for people to come on board with. That's really all I need.
Nice. And then right, that's a bar right there, right? Because we know you grew up in the shiesties. Like, you grew up in those two. You know what shiesty look like. And
I smell it.
Listen, I grew up at 20th and York, so I understand.
Oh yeah, you right there.
Yeah, I grew up in the trenches, just like you did, so I know what shiesty look like too. So honesty is definitely a quality. And the other question I wanted to ask you is, in your attempt, and you're going to succeed to buy the block, but in your current attempts to buy the block, are people blocking that, or is it just that you just need more time and you're trying to get,
I can honestly say I don't feel any blockage. I'm on my 5th property in 100, and I was like, I'm kind of getting nervous. At first, I tried to fade away and play, but people out there, everybody outside on the corners, everybody sees what's going on. So I continue to just be me. I'm always going to be the same Camille that I grew up with these people with. I haven't, experienced, thankfully, any hate or anything like that. They're definitely there. They're supportive of what you need. They helping me carry stuff in. Something goes wrong, I'm getting a phone call. Something looks fishy, I'm getting a phone call saying it was handled, whatever it may be. So I definitely get the support from the community that I grew up with. Some of the other barriers that I might be facing, same as always, as everyone else that's in this real estate game, is finding the best interest rate. Finding an appraiser that's not going to do me dirty. I had an appraiser try to do me like dirty. Took like $40,000 in equity off of 3 properties. Yeah. And it was a matter of having the knowledge and the understanding and the network to reach out like, hey, what's the best way to go about this? Because I didn't want to leave the lender, because the lender rate was crazy. It was beautiful. So it's those type of barriers. But from my community within a whole, I'm not receiving, any pushback. It's nothing but love and support.
So when you on your long-term strategy, which your buy and holds, do you use market tenants or Section 8, or what's your strategy in terms of tenants?
Okay, so my strategy in terms of tenants, I like retail and I like Section 8. I like to have enough Section 8 income coming in to cover all of my notes. So I just did a play for 3. I'm like, all right, to cover the note for this, I need 2 tenants to be Section 8. That's my guaranteed money. We all know that's at a lower, lower pull, but it's guaranteed no matter what's going on right now. Where Walmart about to close 173 stores, whatever may be going on with the families where they work at, that we're housing in these lower income communities. I know my note is covered.
Yeah.
Then I take one, I took one and I put, and all my stuff is nice. I believe in giving a luxury like feel to homes for low income families. But this one, I put a little bit, on there, just a little bit extra seasoning on there. And I went after a retail tenant, and that's my cash flow.
Got you.
So that's pretty much my strategy. And I just look at that, as my portfolio on a whole. Section 8 or some type of program, government program to cover the note. And then I'll go after a retail tenant.
Okay, nice strategy. Love it. So, a couple more questions before we get out of here, right? Throughout this journey, you told us your story and all the ups and downs and things that you have went through. What would you say is the biggest hurdle or something that you had to overcome to get you to where you are operating your business today? What do you think that would be?
Loss.
Okay, explain that to us.
The business plan that I developed was based off of 2 family, 2 incomes. It was based off of me and my spouse. So, like I remember I told you in the beginning, I leveraged my credit score to do, their first property, their first flip. Like I trashed it. Everything was paid on time, so I knew at the end, I could come back from it. But it was bad. And at that point, I lost my husband who had the good credit score. So, that was a barrier. The plan was always for me to leave the prisons. He was one of the head contractors at City Hall. So the plan was always for him to be there. So we will always have that W-2 income coming in. That changed. That changed abruptly. So I had to sit back and go back to the drawing board, like from the beginning, from nothing, to figure out how can I come back from that. So just being resilient enough and strategic enough to develop a plan where I could still stay the course, still meet, my goals on my timeline based off of 1, where originally it was set up for 2.
So, and that's tough, man. All of us have suffered loss, but let me ask you this question, because, I lost my mother in the beginning of the pandemic, but it taught me a lot about myself. What did your loss teach you about yourself? As you're going through that, what did you learn about yourself?
I never knew I was this resilient. Like I never knew. I always knew, I was a little smart. I could figure some things out. But at the same time, I was always kept. My dad kept me, and then my husband kept me. It was a lot of things, I didn't experience. The honest to God truth, I had 2 kids, and I never even cleaned up vomit, ever. Like, ever. I never plunged the toilet. I never did just some of the basic things because I was always afforded, the luxury to be considered a woman with, just certain duties and just certain things I did not have to do. I never changed cat litter. It was certain things that I never did. So it might have been a little bit easier for me to develop a new business plan than to do those things, than to figure out how do I do these things, because this is all foreign. It was all foreign to me. But the part where I realized, like, Camille, you're really resilient. You can get through anything at this point is because I had to my home life as well as my business. All of these things had to be redeveloped at the same time. So there was no peace. I couldn't go to work, for peace and quiet. I couldn't be home because everything was now scrambled. Everything was out of whack. And I'm very, very type A. So I like everything orderly and just an understanding of what's going to happen tomorrow. It made me tap into some things that I did not know existed inside of me. It gave me a sense of, I don't care. Like, nothing can hurt me now. So I feel like I'm a superhero or something out here at this point. What can you do to hurt me? I've experienced everything. My whole life, like literally on all angles, was shattered, and I came back. I came back with a vengeance. What can you do to me now? What can be done? Nothing. My level of spirituality, that elevated to something beyond words.
And congratulations, because you out here doing your thing, and you've definitely bounced from that. Let me ask you this though. I know that BTS and Better Than Success has helped you along your journey. So
absolutely,
first of all, and shout out to Nicole.
Yes, that's my girl.
We appreciate her.
Right.
How has that helped you in your business, being a part of that network?
Being a part of that network, and I knew about BTS, before the pandemic, and for various different reasons, I didn't join. But when I joined, I was at the point where it was like, all right, I hadn't got out of bed yet. When my husband passed away, I was in bed for 4 months, and I hadn't got out of bed yet. And I would sit there, and I would be on a group chat, and we would do stuff online. And a lot of those members, just hearing, the obstacles that they overcame, the things that they did, and then at some point, I started coaching them, and giving them advice and talking to them, and they started elevating and overcoming their obstacles, and that breathed light into me. I don't think I'm using the correct verbiage.
Hey, listen, we understand exactly what you mean.
We understand.
Yeah, it gave me that I sucked it in.
Yeah,
and it helped me. It guided me a little bit more. I definitely can honestly say I would not be, where I'm at right now if it wasn't for the Better Than Success Network. Nicole, when I say that's like my big sis, that's my real life big sis. It was something during real estate week, and I won $1,000. And it was literally at the point, I'm not about to do this. L&I just gave me another fine. I got this, I had a make safe. I was like, man, I'm done. I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I won that $1,000. And that $1,000 was the number I needed to finish paying the engineer for those plans. And from there, I started getting up.
Man. So yeah, I want to definitely make sure we shout them out.
Definitely, I'm an executive with Better Than Success Neo. So everybody watching, if you're interested in learning more about real estate, starting your real estate journey, you can follow me on social media, Legacybuildersmandc. The link is in my bio for Better Than Success.
Yeah, and we're gonna make sure we put all of your contact information in the show notes, as well as below the video.
Yeah.
So everyone can get in contact with you and see how you can help them with your real estate journey.
Exactly.
Because you're definitely out here doing great work, and we want to make sure we tell your story and highlight. The last question I have for you is, do you have a favorite book or something that's inspired you along this journey?
I do. The Millionaire Next Door.
Man, one of my favorites.
Yeah.
All right, so let me ask you this question. I know I said that was the last question, but since you said The Millionaire Next Door, what was your favorite part of what did you learn from that book that helped change or influence your life?
That it's okay not to be a consumer. That it is really okay not to be a consumer. So many times, especially in our communities, we associate success with consumerism. We associate success with labels. When I tell you I don't own not one label, not one. I shop at Walmart and Target, and I own my label.
There you go.
I have that label, but I don't have one label. I drive a really, really regular car. I live really, really regular, and that's something that I got from that book. And it was always kind of my mindset, but to understand that it's okay.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of people, they feel like we might know things, but having the sense of saying it's okay to live this lifestyle. That's what I definitely walked away with. It's okay to live this lifestyle. There are very, very wealthy people, wealthy people who are regular.
And, that's the most powerful thing to me about the book as well, because what I learned from the book is, especially someone who works in data and loves data, right? I love real estate data every day, but data is my thing. And the book is based on data. So what it taught me is that I was lied to my whole life in terms of what wealth looks like.
Yes.
I'm taught because of commercialism and consumerism that wealth looks one way, but the data shows something completely separate.
Yep.
That's not what the data says.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely a powerful book. Man, Camille, I don't know how to thank you enough because you've been very transparent in telling your story. This is one of my favorite episodes because of your story, right? Because of where you come from, the loss, the bounce back, like all of this is very, very, very inspiring. And I can't say enough. Just thank you for your time because
continued success.
Listen, as you mentioned earlier, time is the most valuable asset, right? So you've given us time to come on and tell your story. We are very, very appreciative of this, and and we just want to say thank you and we appreciate you.
No, I appreciate y'all, for sharing your platform with me, for allowing me to just tell a little excerpt of my story, because I never know how that can help encourage somebody else get out of bed.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was in bed for 4 months, like literally. So if this helped one person get out of bed or decide that they're ready to execute to their next phase in life, then I'm happy. Like, I'm elated. And
hey, listen, you help one person because I'm inspired right now. I'm like, I'm a superhero too.
What you mean you can't bounce back? I'm bouncing.
Yeah, like I'm a superhero too. So you inspired me. So I'm pretty sure someone else will feel this episode. So I just want to say thank you so much. Continue success. Like, we'll continue to stay in touch and build with you because we appreciate you. But any last words you have for our listeners or viewers out there?
Nope. Buy the Hood Camp, by the way, for the kids is something like no other. So make sure y'all sign your children up next year.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. And for our audience out there, make sure that you follow Camille on all her socials. We're gonna put all of her links within the show notes, as well as the description of this episode. So make sure you check out everything that she has going on and support her. Share this episode. And we love you guys. But as we always say, it's not about how much money you make. It's about how much you keep. Game elevates. And to our audience out there, like I said, we love and we appreciate you. And we'll see you guys on our next episode. Peace.
All right.